Welcome back to California Cooking. It's LA Marathon weekend, so we're celebrating with an award-winning chef who's participated in 9 marathons. And he shows us exactly what he likes to eat after a race, and a few other recipes to get you fueled up. Chef Dave Beran is a James Beard Award-winning chef with a Michelin star restaurant. He's a runner, former hockey player, and has a unique connection to one of the hottest shows on TV. Hi Dave, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's funny, I've been here before. I walked up, I'm like, I've been to this lovely, because I think the decor is gorgeous.
A little bistro.
I didn't know this about you though, because we've met before, but since then, the show Bear has come out, which is a huge success. Lots of Emmys and everybody loves it. But I did not know that you were the guy that taught Jeremy Allen White, not necessarily how to cook, but what it's like to be a chef and how to run a restaurant, like how to be in command.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely gave him the majority of his restaurant experience.
That's wild.
He was back there cooking with us and
doing
his thing.
During service hours?
Like yeah. Like if you ate here towards his last 3 or 4 nights, we had him cooking fish with us.
How did that connection happen?
We used to have another restaurant called Dialogue. It was a little 18-seat tasting menu. And Chris Storer ate there. And
he's the creator of the show.
He's the creator, writer, director. And we just talked about Chicago and time there, and he grew up there. Right. And we connected over it. And at some point, he reached out to us just like a blind email saying, hey, I'm working on the show. It's gonna be about chefs. And usually when you hear that, you're like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. You know, it's gonna be one of those things that like...
Not realistic at all.
It's a drunk chef and it's making fun of the industry. Right. We didn't, really put it together. Decided to take the meeting. He came in and he's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I thought, what do we have to lose? Why not? If the guy that they send is annoying, then we'll just say, sorry, it didn't work out.
Okay.
And he sent Jeremy, and Jeremy was great. He started on our days that we were closed, because at that point we were just reopening from pandemic. And he was just working with myself and my sous chef for like a couple weeks. And then we started bringing him in when we were open to service and just working with us. And by the end, he was on the line, he was cooking, he was great.
You like chaos, and that's part of who you are, just getting it all done. But it's interesting because, and I asked you this, one thing that people claim helps their mind, helps their clarity, is running. And you have run 9 marathons.
I have.
Which is very impressive.
I'm still chasing down that 10th.
Really?
Every time I sign up and I start to train, something crazy happens. Yeah. Like I was training for my 10th and I moved to LA. Training for my 10th, and then I found I had another kid coming. Like, I started out as the stereotypical cook, right? Like I was going to work, after work, we were going to the bars, and it's not a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. Not that I was an alcoholic or anything, I wasn't doing what was important to me. I realized that the best I ever was when I was doing things for myself. So I started training those late nights for early mornings with my roommates, and we all just signed up for a half marathon and ran it. And through that transition in training, I started doing better at work, I started feeling better. I went from being really in shape in college to being way out of shape when I started cooking, and that helped me kind of like, recenter myself. And so after that, I signed up for a marathon, and the thing about the marathon, or just long solo times where you're exerting yourself, is you find a lot of clarity. I needed to be good for myself, and then I was good at work.
Which cities did
Chicago and New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
So LA is still on the bucket list.
Still needs to be there. Yeah.
To me, when you say the word bistro, that just sounds to me like a place like you want to go and just eat food that is cozy and familiar.
I love the feeling of a great neighborhood bistro. Yeah. And so when we were looking for Dialogue's replacement, we had this little 18-seat place. It was like 700 square feet. Wanted a much bigger version of it. I came across this space. And I was like, well, it doesn't work for Dialogue, but I've always wanted a neighborhood bistro. I lived down the street. There was nothing like that here. So we did it. We opened a bistro. Well, that's the fun of bistros, right? They're like a little loud, but a little cozy and comforting for you.
And you want to go back and back time and time again.
Like you want to sit at the bar and have the grilled cheese. You want to sit down and have like a big meal out of it.
How'd you come up with the menu items?
It changes. It's when we first opened, we were very, very French. As I kind of took a step back and looked at it, I think the magic of a Parisian bistro is that they're reflective of where they are. And so we kind of pivoted the food a bit to be more California produce through the lens of Parisian cuisine. We have a French onion tart that's basically like French onion soup. and a duck press, which is an early 1900s dish. But we also have, every summer at the peak of tomato season, we do this tomato and tuna dish. The tuna's caught just south of here. Tomatoes come from the market. It's a cross between French classics and classic-inspired things as a result of the produce that we get here.
I'm excited because we're gonna make something I hear that is your reward after you run a marathon. This is your treat meal.
Yeah, so I used to, our old GM from the restaurant in Chicago, he and I ran a handful of marathons together, and at that time, the first time we did this, we were doing the vegan menu at Next, and so we all went vegan for R&D. And we kept joking that at the end of the marathon, we're gonna go out for a big steak dinner.
Yeah.
And so we did. And then that became the tradition after every marathon that we'd go out for steak dinner. So we're gonna make steak.
Here we are, we're on the line.
On the line.
We're gonna
Get ready.
Get ready.
Get ready.
I always think people enjoy watching professionals make a steak.
Sure.
Because you guys make it look easy, you always get the temperature right, and I think it's fun to learn from the best. So show us how you make your
All
steak.
right, so we're gonna do steak and potatoes.
Who doesn't love that?
As straightforward as we can for home. We're gonna start with the potato that I grew up with. I knew them as Syracuse potatoes because I grew up in Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
4 parts water, 1 part salt.
Yes.
The potatoes go in. We have hanger steak because it's easy to cook at home, it's delicious, and it's not painfully expensive. It's also not overly difficult to make.
You put some really
Yeah, so we're gonna make a
coarse
poivre.
pepper.
A poivre with pepper. So we like the coarse pepper on this one. Get your pan hot, just a little bit of oil. We're gonna cook this like you would at home, so if it's so hot that it smokes, you'd smoke out your house. So we're gonna try to be a little more reserved with it. We want nice even caramelization. We'll flip it. From this point, get a little bit of color and the aromatics.
Aha, so what do we have in there?
Butter, shallot, garlic, thyme. You want it hot enough that you start to hear it pop. We leave everything in big chunks so I don't want it to burn.
Yeah.
And we're gonna use all this for flavor in the sauce.
And the basting, I love the basting.
So now what we're gonna do is we're going to take this steak out. And now what we're gonna do from this point.
This is how we make the sauce. For
So now
the
we're making the
poivre.
sauce and the veg with it. Mushrooms go in. We're gonna get a little color on those. Add just another fresh cube of butter to it.
I like how you sneak these little cubes of butter out of your drawer over
Oh
there.
yeah, we've got butter everywhere. A little bit of salt. This is just cut up shallot and garlic. We'll just hit this with a little cognac.
Yeah, there you go.
Fire's fun, right? Everybody likes a
Fire's
little fire.
fun. Do not try this at home unless you're
Yeah, I mean,
prepared.
the thing is, when you add it at home, just turn your flame off and add it and it'll reduce out. So let that cognac reduce out a bit, creme fraiche.
I like where this is going. Creamy stuff being added.
And if it ends up being a little thick, we can just add a touch of water to it. These potatoes are as close to done as they're gonna be at the moment. So the magic of this is when you take them out and set them down, as soon as they start to steam, they get this layer of salt on them. We're gonna cut these steaks, cut it on a large bias, and that's all you're looking for.
Okay.
Just put the meat on, some sauce, some potatoes, call it a day.
Oh my gosh, I feel so spoiled right now.
I
This
didn't know
is
it was a lunch thing, huh?
This is amazing.
Here we are.
Here we are. Okay, so our beautiful steak is here. But let's talk about some of the other things on the table.
This is our beef tartare. right
Okay,
here.
look at how beautiful that is.
It's a pretty traditional beef tartare, Dijon vinaigrette, horseradish, radishes on top. Radishes and radish flowers are growing everywhere right now. We finish it with nasturtium, so you have nasturtium pesto, and they taste like an herbaceous horseradish.
So how would you eat this then? I would
So I'd
put it
a
like
little,
that.
little,
you think?
just a little bit of the pesto on there too.
Okay, that is so kind of earthy,
Peppery, grassy, yeah.
It's really,
It's very
really nice.
springy to me.
And then what's this beauty?
Foie brioche has been on the menu since day one. House baked brioche. So we do it with a blend of chicken and duck liver, and we basically make it into a mousse. We add a lot of cognac and Madeira to make it taste like foie gras. So it's finished with with Perigord truffles, and then a shallot truffle jam on the side.
I mean, it is very rich and decadent. Flavor and really, really good. Let's talk about our lovely steak. I'm gonna take a bite. Running a marathon or no marathon, that is exactly, the kind of meal like
Steak and potatoes.
that will do it every time.
after a marathon, it's great.
This is
This is dessert.
gorgeous. What
This
is
is
in the sphere?
So it's a sphere of meringue. It's filled with whipped lemon curd. Around the outside, wild wood sorrel, wild fennel. There's a wild fennel jam underneath.
It's like the best lemon meringue pie I've ever had. Chef, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you
This
for
has
coming.
been so great.
Thanks for cooking with us.
And we can't wait to cheer you on maybe LA Marathon next year.
Next year. I'll already sign up. I can't just roll my registration over.
Right. Coming up, a chicken pasta with a buttery tomato sauce to fuel you up before the big race. Then it's crunchy, chewy, sweet, and salty. My homemade granola will hit the spot. I may not be a runner, but I do know that carb loading is the way to go the night before a marathon. So here's a chicken pasta that'll give you all the energy you need. I have never been in a marathon, never ran a marathon. I couldn't run down the block, but if I was to run a marathon, I have always heard that it's all about the carbs. And you probably need a little protein too. And I think there's really no reason to need an excuse to eat some pasta. So I'm gonna make, I'm not saying it's a viral thing on the internet, this butter tomato sauce, but I've heard a few people talk about it lately. And I've been adding butter to my pasta with tomato sauce for a long time. That's just, and I've noticed over the last few months, I keep adding more butter and more butter to the point where a friend of mine said, you know there's a butter tomato sauce that's going viral. And I said, you're kidding, because it's so good, the two of them together. So we'll start with the chicken. I've just got one chicken breast in here, and I happen to like a thinner chicken breast. So I'm gonna just pound it out a little bit and make it a little thinner, and it cooks faster when it is. So you want it just uniformly flat. And then just to keep it in the Ziploc, make life easy, I'm gonna add our seasonings right in there. So I'm gonna get it with some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and a little bit of oregano. Just easy enough to take the chicken and you just massage all that around so it gets flavored. For now, we're gonna go back and cook up our sauce and get our spaghetti boiling. I've got my big pot boiling, just ready for us when we're ready to put our spaghetti in. Starting the sauce though, pretty easy, and I'll show you why. Normally when you'd make a pasta sauce, you'd chop up the onion and the garlic, and I'm gonna simplify that. So what I'm going to do is pour in our can of crushed tomatoes. I'm not chopping the onion, I'm just putting it in. Cutting a half an onion or one small onion. I cut it in half, put it in. I'm gonna do 6 tablespoons of butter. Same with the garlic. I'm just going to put the garlic in whole and let it flavor the sauce, but no chopping. And this will infuse our tomato sauce. A big pinch of salt. And then you're gonna need to taste that to make sure you put enough. A nice pinch of pepper. And we're gonna let that gently cook for, I would say, 30 minutes. So easy sauce. Now for the chicken. Let's cook the chicken while everything's going. I don't wanna boil the pasta just yet. And we'll get some olive oil. Okay, time for our chicken. We got our oil heating up. Okay, let's check our chicken. Nice, we got a nice caramelization, that's what we want. Lid back on. Okay, I'm also gonna drop in our spaghetti. So big pot, lots of salt for your pasta, and just regular spaghetti. You could use any pasta, but I'm gonna do spaghetti. 10 minutes. Chicken is done, I'm gonna let that rest. I'm gonna make some toasted breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna put a little bit of butter, some panko breadcrumbs, touch of salt, touch of pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, and you just wanna toast those up. That's it. Happens fast. Our spaghetti is just about done, so I'm going to just take out the onion. Obviously, you could blend all this too. That would be lovely, but I just used it to flavor. Time for the pasta to come out, and I'm just going to put it directly into our sauce. And then just put this on low. One little last pat of butter on top of our pasta. We stir it all around, and we just let this become one. And it's a little al dente, so it can sit in this sauce for a minute or two and still be perfect. Okay, time to carb load, everybody. We've got our pasta done, our chicken. I'm gonna top it with some breadcrumb, and it's easy. It really came together in no time. Let's pile up some of this spaghetti in a lovely bowl, our butter spaghetti. And it just does something to the sauce. It softens it. It adds this flavor that is just so good. And you can tell even the color changes. It's kind of more of an orangey color than a red. So just some thin slices of chicken. One chicken breast will feed two. We'll only do a half on there. And then I've got some basil, and I'm gonna chop that up. I'm gonna just add that. I'm gonna add my fresh basil to my toasted breadcrumbs, and I'm gonna just sprinkle some of those breadcrumbs right on top. Give it a little crunch, add a little texture, and then, because every bowl of spaghetti needs some Parmesan cheese. And there you go, some buttered tomato spaghetti. Theo, you came for lunch. Do you want to try some pasta?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Oh. Will you try it? No! Yummy. Tastes like SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
It's delicious. Coming up, one more recipe to give you an extra boost. I'm going to show you how I make my homemade granola. It's the perfect thing for breakfast or a snack on the go. Here's my homemade granola. Something I make maybe once a week in the house lately is a nice, chunky, full of all kinds of good stuff granola. And it's so easy to make, and I think there's probably a lot less sugar than what you'd buy in the grocery store. And honestly, you can put whatever you want in it. There's no, right or wrong answer to granola. So I happened to find, which I'd never seen before, protein oats. I'm going to use maple syrup. Sometimes you use a combination of maple syrup and brown sugar. For today, I think I'm just gonna do the maple syrup, and I tend to just eyeball it. Some vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon, and a pinch of salt. The other little twist to my granola lately is adding tahini, which is a sesame paste. I love tahini. This is what it looks like, almost like what you think of a nut butter, but it's made from sesame seeds. It is not sweet. I'm going to add a big dollop of that. And basically what we do is we get this all mixed together. So what I tend to do is I put this in the oven first with just these ingredients, because if I do the nuts now and the coconut, I tend to burn those other things. So I like to add the nuts and all the other goodies halfway through the baking process so I don't burn them. Even though when you look at a lot of recipes for granola, they put it all in together at once, I just tend to not have luck with that. So I'm going to stagger it and just start with this. I'm missing one vital ingredient, coconut oil, melted. Put it in the microwave for just a few seconds, and the coconut oil is going to help get everything nice and brown and golden. Spread this out. I've got the oven at about 350, and let's check it after about 10 minutes. Oh, okay, the granola smells really good. Now it's about halfway done, and it's starting to brown a little bit. And I'm gonna just move it around. And this is what you want when you start to see kind of those clumps forming. That's good. We're gonna add all of our goodies. So I've got the pecans, the dates, the apricots, pumpkin seeds, sliced almonds. I also love to do some sesame seeds. Because we also have the tahini, which is sesame, I just like to hit it with these sesame seeds. And because I happen to have coconut, we'll put some coconut in there too. Again, get everything incorporated, put it back in. The granola, one thing granola does, the house smells so good. And then leaving it in there for that extra few minutes, now all of the nuts have a nice toastiness. The one thing you do want to do with granola is you let it cool and then it gets crispy, because right now I took it right out of the oven hot. It's still a little bit soft, but give it time to cool down and then it gets that crispiness. But one thing, just to show you a fun way to kind of jazz up your granola, I happen to have these cute little glasses, and this has all of the dried fruit and the nuts. It's so chunky, that's what I love about granola, when it has all the kind of good stuff going on. A little bit of, I do plain Greek yogurt because you have so much flavor going on there. And I happen to have just some pretty raspberries, a couple of blueberries, and just because it's sitting here, a little bit of that maple syrup on top. And then you've got yourself a lovely little yogurt parfait. All right, let's take a little taste. Tastes like a really good oatmeal cookie, but good for you. For all the recipes we featured in today's episode, you can follow us on Instagram at KTLA California Cooking. Well, that does it for us. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you next time.